Lijep pozdrav svima. S obzirom da moj slovenski je dobar što se tiče razumijevanja, ali govora baš i ne, zamolili su me da zapravo zbog prijevoda pričam engleski, pa nemojte mi zamjeriti, u pauzama možemo pričati međusobno hrvatsko-slovenski. I was asked actually to present the experiences of Croatia when it comes to active citizenship and what is actually the situation with civil society and actually what are the possibilities of involvement, whether you are an ordinary citizen or a civil society organization in the process of decision making and in any other way participating in political life. I would have to go a little bit back and say that when we look at the 90s of the last century, when actually the development of civil society in Croatia started pretty much, and we look at the situation today, then we definitely have to acknowledge some kind of progress. First of all, in the 90s, civil society organizations in Croatia were pretty much considered to be the enemies of the state, foreign spies, and similar. Unfortunately, there are still some people who believe this to be true, even some of the presidential candidates right now in Croatia, but never mind that. And now, still there is some kind of a system of support for civil society organizations existing. First of all, within the government there is an office for NGOs that is pretty much working on creating better, I would say, working conditions for civil society organizations in Croatia and providing them with support. Then there is the Council for Civil Society Development, which is an advisory council to the office for NGOs, and which also has not just members from the government, from some governmental bodies, but also representatives of civil society organizations as members. And there is a National Foundation for Civil Society Development, which is pretty much in charge of distributing financial funds to civil society organizations through various grants. There are also possibilities for getting institutional support from foundation. So the system is there. Another thing is that we have a great strategy. If you ever have too much time, then I suggest you read the strategy for creating enabling environment for civil society organizations in Croatia. It's a wonderful document. It's actually a good example of involving civil society organizations in creating strategies or some strategic documents, because civil society was very much involved in working groups who actually developed the strategy, and there are really good points there and really good plan where we should go and what we should do. But the problem is that, of course, where we are lacking is the implementation. So on paper things are beautiful, but when it comes to the implementation, then not so much. For one thing, I have to explain to you that when we talk about civil society in Croatia, you will hear some people saying that it is developed because we have more than 30,000 of civil society organizations in Croatia, or what we call udruge. But of course, you have to know the background, and the background is that udruga, or in the same category, is organizations such as mine, then association of football club Dinamo, fire department associations, those who play Czech at their own free time and have some kind of a club. These are all udruge, or some would say these are civil society organizations, which of course they are, but it's not, of course, the same type of an organization, not the same scope of work that we are doing, and of course Dinamo has much higher yearly turnout of funds than any of the civil society organizations in Croatia, and also receives, sport clubs receive most of the funds that go from the state budget to actually udruge or the civil society organizations in Croatia, because often this number is also manipulated. So someone would say that a lot of funds went during the year to support civil society, but most of it actually goes to sport clubs. So we still haven't set up criteria in Croatia actually what would be a public benefit organization and what would not be such a type of an organization. This is something that we have been strongly advocating for several years now, and still, unfortunately, this hasn't been done. We are always promised that it will be soon solved, but obviously there are some problems in some groups of the organizations who want to actually fall into the category of public benefit organizations, although they don't satisfy all of the criteria that they probably should. This is a pretty much sensitive issue, mostly due to the associations of war veterans who also strongly want to be public benefit organizations. And due to this lack of actually differentiations made between civil society organizations who are involved in advocacy work, in the work for public benefit, and those who are, well, some even only working for their own members. We have problems in actually finding our role to be important in the minds of some of our citizens, because citizens really don't have the true understanding of what a civil society organization is, why is the work of civil society organizations important. I mean, not all of the citizens, but I would say a great number. And when we are talking about active citizenship, of course there are different levels of being active. For most of the people, being active means, I don't know, going out to vote every now and then when there are some kind of elections in the country. But just as I was discussing on the way here with the colleagues from Slovenia who brought me, even more and more citizens don't want to get involved in this way. So on the last local elections, there was really low turnout of voters who got out and voted on the elections. And so mostly the communication, unfortunately, happens in one way. So citizens receive information from the government, but only rarely and only few actually try to get involved in sending some kind of a feedback back to the government. And I would say that in that respect we do have problems in Croatia, and the problem is that cooperation in a way that you actually get civil society organizations involved in process of decision making, that you actually involve them as some kind of a partner, happens only very rarely, and it happens only due to the good chance of having a person in some institution in charge that is more open to civil society and that is willing to actually get you involved, but there is no set-up procedure, and there is no actual, I would say, political will to get civil society organizations more involved. I will illustrate